Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello again, my dear students of the third secondary stage. Welcome back again, and this time we will complete our revision on units 9, 10, and 11, part 2. Okay? Okay, in this part we will start directly with grammar. And our grammar lesson, or the grammar lessons in the 3 units, is about It's about reported speech. Reported speech. We all know that the reported speech is divided into 3 categories. We report statement, we report questions, and we also report commands. We will start right away with statement. Right? Okay, this is how we report statements. For example, I am doing my homework now. I am doing my homework now, said Tom. When we change this statement from direct into reported, we do as follows. Of course, we start with Tom said, or the subject, and then said. That. And notice that that is optional. You can put it or you can omit it. That he, because we are talking about Tom, he, and then am changes and becomes was, doing my homework becomes his homework, and now becomes them. Now let's take a look at some of these changes in more detail. Okay, as we said before, we change. Number 1, we omit the speech marks and the comma, and we change the pronouns first. Then comes the verb. We change the verb tenses as it follows. If it was present, like in the following examples, make and makes become made, am or is or are making become was or were making, has or have made becomes had made, don't or doesn't make becomes didn't make. And you have to know that we only change the very first verb from present into past. As we said before, if we have more than one verb, as I am making, I am doing, we only change am or is or are. We don't change anything else. Okay? Alright, we are still with the tenses. If the tense was in the past simple tense, we change it as follows. For example, if it was went or any verb plus ed, it becomes had gone or had plus the past participle. Didn't go becomes hadn't gone. Was or were going become had been going. When the tense is past, we need to add had plus the past participle. Verbs already in the past perfect do not change. It means that if you have already in the sentence had plus the past participle, you do not change it. Okay? And here I have to tell you that for first conditional or for conditionals if, we only change the very first case. If conditional number 1 changes from present to past, but the second conditional if or the third, they stay as they are. Okay? What about modal verbs? What about modal verbs? They also change, as in the following. Can becomes could, will, would, may, might, must. Stays as it is must or had to. The past modal could, would, should, and might do not change. So if you have in the sentence, in the original sentence, might or could or would or should, you do not change them. They stay as they are. Okay, after we finish the verbs or after we change the verb tenses, as we said earlier in the previous slides, we will have to look at place and time adverbs, adverbs of place and time, or time expressions, or the words, the keywords of certain tenses. For example, here becomes there, this becomes that or the. We will say in the following slides when do we change this into that or when we change this into that. These becomes those, now becomes then, today becomes that day. Tonight becomes that night. Tomorrow becomes the next day or the following day. Next week becomes the following week. Yesterday, the day before or the previous day. Last month, the previous month. Okay? Here, in some cases, we do not change the verb tenses between brackets. In three cases. Number one, if the report is about something that is always true, there is no tense change. For example, I like apples more than I like oranges. He said that he likes apples more than he likes oranges. Or if it was a fact, as if we said, the teacher said the earth is round. If we report this sentence, we will say the teacher said that the earth is round. We can't say the earth was round. It's a fact. Number three, if the spoken words or if the speech or if the sentence between brackets has just been said or it was shortly said from a very short time ago, there's no verb change. If it has immediate relevance, we do not change tenses. Look at the following. I am going to the cinema tonight. Do you want to come? Jack is on the phone. He says he's going to the cinema tonight. Note something very important. Says, if it was says not said or tells not told, we do not change the verb tenses at all. Okay? Okay, here we have to note something. We said before that said stays as it is when we report, or said to becomes told. But some other times we can replace said with the following verbs, like suggest, admit, deny, apologize for, objected to, insisted on, and of course all these verbs are followed by an ing form. Like in the following example, he said, let's look for another flat. Of course, let's look for another flat is a suggestion, so we will change said to suggested, and after suggest we put an ing form. We will say, he suggested looking for a flat. Other examples according to what's between brackets. If it was an apology, I'm sorry for breaking your camera, so we will say instead of said, we will say he apologized for breaking my camera, and so on and so forth. Suggest has something different, suggest and recommend. Both of them are followed by an ing form, but some other times they are followed by that, and after that we have we, should, and infinitive. He suggested that we should look for a flat. Another note, this and these become that and those. This becomes that and these becomes those if they refer to time. For example, he said that day was the hottest day of the year. It means this day. It becomes that day. These days, it becomes those days. Because we were referring to time. Like, but look here, this, that, these, and those become the if they were demonstratives. Demonstratives, أسماء إشارة. This animal is cute, said Hadir. This animal is cute. This here is a demonstrative. It's not referring to time. So we will say Hadir said that the animal was cute. The animal was cute. But this and these become it or they or them if they were pronouns, and pronouns either subject or object pronouns. Like in the following, he said, this is a mistake. This is a mistake. This here comes as a pronoun. So we will say, he said that it was a mistake. He said that it was a mistake. Understood? Okay, let's check understanding together. It's your turn to answer the questions. Ready for questions? Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Number one, my daughter space her teacher had given her a reward that day. My daughter agreed, my daughter told, my daughter said, or my daughter complained. My daughter, very good, said. And you have to notice that here in this sentence, we did not use that. As I told you before, it's optional. Okay, number 2, Maher said that he space a friend at the station later that day. That day, remember? It was this day. Yes, I can hear you. Very good. Was meeting. Number 3, Sarah told me that she spaced a job interview the previous day. The previous day. Yesterday, yes. That she had. Number 4, she said that China, a densely populated country. This is what? This is a fact. Very good. So the answer would be is. Number 5, Faris told us that his family spaced a house in the countryside 2 months before. 2 months before, it means 2 months ago. Past simple. So the past simple become past perfect. Excellent. Had both. Number 6, he told me that he spaced me to repair my car the following day. The following day refers to future. The following day. So we will change will to would. Very good. The last sentence, the article says that the article says that there an increase in the number of university students next year. The article says, remember, we said when we have says, not said, we do not change the verb tenses. So the answer would be will be. Very good. Now it's time for our second part of the reported speech is questions. Questions. Before we report questions, we have to remember that there are two types of questions. We have yes/no questions, and in this type of questions, the answer is always yes or no, starting with a verb. For example, do you like football? Yes, I do. Were you at home last night? No, I wasn't. And the second type of questions is WH questions. And in this type of questions, the answer depends on the interrogative pronoun. You are asking about a person with who, you are asking about a place with where, you ask about the reason with why, and so on. Like, where did you go? I went to the beach. How often do you play football? I play football once a week, and so on and so forth. In the following slides, we will know and learn how to report questions. Okay, type 1, yes, no questions. As you can see, there are changes as in statement, but we need the verb ask and include if. Keep in mind that the word order has a statement structure. How can we say this? When we make a question in normal statements, we start with the verb, then the subject, then the complement. But when we change it or when we report it, it becomes a statement. We switch the verb with the subject. Look at the following. Do you like football? He asked me. He asked me if I liked football. So we have to put if or whether. We have to put if or whether in yes, no question. In reported yes, no question. Are you at home? He asked me. No, I am not, I answered. He asked me if I was at home, and I answered I was not. Okay, in WH questions, in these cases, there is also a shift in word order and tenses also change. So the subject, we start with the subject and then the verb. However, if is substituted by the interrogative pronoun given. It means that if is not used, but we use the WH word. Why, what, how old, how often. Have a look at these examples. Where are you going? He asked me. He asked me where I was going. We will not say he asked me if I was going. No, we will say he asked me where I was going. Okay, now let's practice. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Number 1. Saber asked Sameh how long he space employed at Mu'min restaurant. How long he, yes, had been. Number 2, Mr. Ibrahim asked Shahd whether she space experienced working with children. Whether she had, whether she has had, or was having. Very good, had. Number 3, he asked me space the first time I had applied for a job at a hotel. Yes, if that was. Number 4, the manager asked Tamer whether he space willing to work at weekends. Whether he was. Very good. Number 5. Aula's mother asked her if she space her some bread from the supermarket if she would get. Number 6. My boss wanted to know if I had a driving license. Number 7. She wanted to know how I space about working in another part of the country. How I would feel. Thank you. Okay, here the third part of speech is about commands. How about if you want to report commands? Have a look at these ones. Shut up, boys. Shut up, boys. The teacher asked us to shut up. Don't speak, boys. Don't speak, boys. The teacher asked us not to speak. As you can see, the imperative tense has no subject in English, and the verb is used in infinitive without to. Thus, if you want to report it, you have to use a to plus infinitive or not to plus infinitive. If it was a positive imperative like shut up, we will use to plus infinitive. If it was negative as don't, we will use not to plus infinitive. We normally use the introductory verb ask plus an object. Asked me, asked us, and so on and so forth. Okay, but other times we change that or replace that with other verbs according to what comes between brackets, like promise, agree, offer, threaten, refuse, remind, decide, warn, ask, advise, allow, plus to, plus infinitive. We can also replace that with these verbs, but they come followed by to plus infinitive, like in the following example. He said, I'll help you with your homework. This is an offer or this is a promise. So we will say, he promised to help me with my homework. Now let's check understanding. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, or D. Number 1. The teacher warned the students space to write their names at the top of the page. Remember that warn is always followed by not to. So, not to forget. Number 2, Ahmed encouraged me, space and finish early so we could go to the basketball match. Yes, to try. Number 3, she warned her daughter not to go near the campfire because it was dangerous. Number 4, the man asked the waiter to bring him some water. Number 5, Dad recommended space a nice suit for wedding. Remember recommend as suggest if they were followed by ing or that plus subject plus infinitive. So that I wear. Number 6, when he was angry, Amir ordered the man to get out of his office. The last one, Ahmed's father advised him to lock the front door at night. I hope that you understood everything. Thank you very much for your good listening. See you next time, inshallah.